The first set will be played on Fighting Spirit. Spawning in the top left-hand position as the blue Protoss player playing for KT Rolster. His name is Stats.
He is the new Fighting Spirit specialist from KT Rolster. His opponent from Kespa Teammates spawning as orange Protoss on the right bottom corner of the map. His name is Terminator.
Such a cool name. Gotta love it. Stats is fairly, I guess, standard and average as far as names go. But
it isn't as bad as Carno.
Yeah, Carno was terrible. I'm glad he changed his name back.
I mean, I asked him, he's like, yeah, it sounded a little bit out of position, so I'm going to change it back to Stats.
Good. He can never change it again. All right, well, KT Rolster, they're 3-2 versus Kespa Teammate here. That seems to be the trend. These teams pretty much go 3-2 against their opponents as far as overall games go. And in round 4, when they last played, KT Rolster, they went 4-1.
Yeah, but round 4 wasn't the last game that they played. It was round 5. And in round 5, actually,
they weren't showing the stats for round 5. I think that's
it was in the left bottom corner.
Oh.
Yeah. Round 5, KT Rolster did win, score of 4-3.
Yeah. So KT overall doing pretty good against Kespa Teammate then.
Yeah, in fact, these two teams have been a little bit back and forth, actually. Kespa Teammate winning round 2 and round 3 with score of 4-2 and 4-3. But whenever these teams played against each other, except for round 1 and round 4, it all dragged into the set number 6 or the ace match.
Yeah. Then the last time these guys played, it was in round 3. Wings of Liberty. Terminator did manage to take the win over KT player Stats
on February 1st, and that was on the map Neo Planet S. When it comes to the Kespa plus WCS matches, Stats is 7-7 in this particular match of Terminator, 8-7 in PvP.
Yep. And we're just going to have to wait and see what kind of tech path these guys decide to go down. Neither of them are going to go for proxies this game, or at least the gateway proxies. Stargate proxies still very much a potential thing to happen here. All right, we do have a probe moving across the map from Terminator.
Yeah, interesting scouting location actually over here, because usually
he's cross scouting first actually.
He's just saying, you know what, I have a 2 prepared build today, and if my opponent spawns in the cross position, I'm going to go for a particular build. If my opponent does not spawn in the diagonal position, I'm going to go for a different build. That's a feeling that I get with this scouting over here, as he scouts where his opponent is right away.
Yep. Yeah, and just leaves, doesn't even really care what's going on over here. He knows that that probe won't survive long anyway if he sticks around.
Yeah, and immediately after seeing the Nexus inside the main base, we have a Twilight Council.
Yep. Pretty fast Twilight Council. We're going to have to see exactly what the response from Stats is going to be here. He's going for a very fast Nexus, actually. Very greedy.
Very greedy from Stats, but also this means that we're going to have some Robo following behind us from Stats. Now, it really depends on what Terminator wants to go for, and we don't see additional gateways being built, so most likely it's going to be a DT. He could still go for Blink Stalkers behind us, but let's see what the tech is going to be.
Yeah. He is saving up money to research the Blink here, and it looks like he's going to get the Blink.
Well, no matter what it is...
never mind, Dark Shrine.
No matter what it is, he wants to apply a lot of pressure against his opponent. Now, the Robo Bay, excuse me, not the Robo Bay, the Robo, is starting from Stats' side, so he's going to have the Observer out in time. The question is, where is the Observer going to be when the DTs arrive?
Yeah, that's a good question here. And the Mothership Core, I'm not sure if Stats is really going to be able to do any scouting with it. It's got to keep it at home for defense if he's going for that early Nexus. And it's really cool, man. We've been seeing early expansions become more and more prevalent in PvP, and the macro games become more common. So it's just great to see that in PvP.
And it's also perfect against a standard metagame in PvP these days, because a lot of players love to go for the Twilight Council, and most of them go for DT, some go for the Blink, which is pretty much countered by Nexus first right into Robo.
All right, well, it looks like this Phoenix has scouted everything here. Nothing being built out of the Robo yet.
But immediately from Terminator, he's going to throw down the Nexus, knowing that if he can't deal enough damage, then he needs a Nexus behind it to stay in the game, to make sure he is even on the economy. Hold on a second.
Whoa.
We have a second Nexus on the right top corner of the map.
Oh. That Nexus in the top right-hand corner, that's pretty risky. That's ballsy, but you know what? You're in a position where sometimes, you know, you have to do things like this. Oh, force fields.
Oh, not so
the DT,
perfect
but
today.
Unfortunately, just a hex off.
And you know what's perfect? He showed the DT.
Yeah.
So what he was trying to do is, even if the DT goes down, he wants to pressure his opponent, making sure that he stays inside the main base.
Yeah, he's going to only move out across the map when he's got 2 observers, and he wants to actually attack his opponent.
So now this is going to be fantastic because now there's not going to be any stats. He's not going to scout around the map to see if there's anything sneaky going around, because his mind is pretty much telling him, oh, my opponent went for the DTs. I have an observer, so his nexus went up later than mine. I am completely fine. In fact, I am ahead compared to my opponent.
Yeah, I don't actually see this nexus getting scouted throughout the game unless we see some type of air tech from stats. If he goes in like maybe a double Stargate or something. He is going to go ahead and get a Twilight Council and Forge behind this, so his upgrades will be ahead of his opponent, and he can eventually get the blink, the counter blink,
yes.
or he can go in the charge lot Archon as well.
The problem is, if the like you said, if the right top nexus does not go scouted, then his opponent is going to have a nice economic lead. And in the middle of the game, stats, he's going to lose an engagement. He's going to tell himself, how did I lose this game? How did I lose this particular engagement?
Yeah. Also, Terminator doing a great job at just keeping tabs on his opponent with that hallucinated Phoenix. All right, now stats sending in an observer here to his opponent's main base.
And here's the problem. Because Terminator opened up with the DT first, he's going to see these 3 gateways, a Robo, and a Forge finishing up behind this, but this looks normal from Stats' position because his opponent is behind when it comes to tech.
Oh, and Stats is actually going to take a fast third here. So
this is nice.
This means that the fast third base of Terminator is going to be nullified greatly, actually.
Nullified for a long time being, and it's actually fantastic because he saw inside the main base. He knows that his opponent is not going for any timing push thing. So it's, you know, from a standard game perspective, it's just better to go for a Nexus behind this while getting additional gateways, thinking that you are ahead in this game.
Yeah, and probe count pretty similar. We do see Immortals continuing in production for each player here. Stats also throwing down 3 additional gateways, preparing to take this third base, or going for the most miraculous fake ever at the third.
Well, he could go for a really huge timing attack. Remember, he does have 3 additional gateways inside the main base, and that's a lot of Immortals being built right now. The Archon's being made. So he might go for the fake, but most likely it's going to be a Nexus because that's the safest play. However, the DT actually snipes the probe.
Nice. DT going to delay this expansion slightly. All right, we have +2 being researched from stats. The +1 is almost complete for Terminator. Also going up to 5 gateways. The Dark Templar is sniped off here, as Terminator almost completes his his Templar archives as well.
You know, this one's confused stats right now because if both players are in a similar location, his opponent should go for a third Nexus, especially after the DT scouting the 12 o'clock position.
Yeah. Yeah, he should eventually get a new expansion, and because he's got the 3rd up already, he can easily get that 4th up pretty fast here.
And in fact, getting a 4th up right now is going to be fantastic because that's going to keep Stats guessing what his opponent is going to go for.
Yeah. Terminator's still behind in supply, though, 90 to 102. Stats will be able to keep a supply advantage, I think, for a good amount of time here, really. It takes a long time for a 3rd additional Nexus to really kind of boost in.
You know what I think? I think Stats is expecting a 2-base timing push from his opponent after seeing the number of gateways.
Well, he's grabbing that 3rd base anyway, so I guess he's confident that he can defend.
I mean, let's be honest. Without the imagine there is no 3rd Nexus on the right top corner. Stats has been keeping ahead in this game against his opponent because, you know, the DTs did not do anything. He took an early 3rd compared to his opponent.
Yeah.
He could use a Nexus Cannon and nice Sentry Force Fields to block off this location and win the engagement easily, especially knowing that his opponent does not have a Colossus to counter anything that Stats has right now.
All right, the Phoenix moving around. Hallucinating Phoenix is going to try to do some scouting here. Supplies now still slightly in the advantage of the KT player. We do have Terminator sending a War Prism over to the Natural there. There is a cannon and 2 Stalkers. Jesus, man, Stats knows what's up.
Well, Stats is trying to play as defensive as possible, knowing that DT drops can come any second.
Oh, and we also have an engagement in the middle of the map here. Stats looking like he's getting the better trade here, though. Time Warp goes down, and we have a recall.
It's the best decision. Terminator needs to make sure his 3rd base economy starts kicking in. He has more gateways than his opponent. He's getting a 4th base behind this. So the harassment was nice. It didn't do as much, but forcing a fight in the middle of the map, not so great for Terminator.
Yeah, the engagement there for him just didn't work out, unfortunately. But Terminator is going to try to take this 4th base. I'm not sure if he can actually hold it, though. Stats is moving across the map of a very large contingent of forces.
Here's the thing. It doesn't matter if he holds because he has a 3rd base up there. And Stats is thinking, oh, my opponent is going for a 3rd base right now at the 6 o'clock position. I'm going to try to deny it if I can.
Stats has +3 attack on the way. He's now up to 150 supply to the 134 of his opponent.
Yeah. And
I am actually getting very, very worried here for Terminator now. He probably can't hold on to this expansion now. He does have a good amount of Archon, 7-4.
Problem is, that's just too many army from his opponent's stats right now. He's just going to take apart this Nexus easily. Yeah, a nice time mark even goes down, but the Nexus cannon goes down from Terminator.
And the Nexus, it's going to end up falling here. The Archon count, though, still very impressive.
Oh, Archons are stuck in the back.
Excellent force field goes down as well, buying us a little bit of time. 2 Archons are still in the back, though, for Stats. He's forcing his opponent away, though. The Time Warps doing an incredible job keeping this army in place. And Stats just taking an even larger lead now.
Yeah, well, even if he lost a Force Nexus, it's not the end for our Protoss player from Kesper teammate, as he still has the 3rd base on the right top corner. Losing a few Immortals and Archons was a loss that he shouldn't have taken, but seeing the probe moving over to that location might tip him off.
Yeah. That probe, a little sneaky there. He is building a proxy pylon, and one of the units are sent out. Not in the right direction, though. It's going to the expansion.
And he doesn't have any units over at the natural.
Terminator is out of position completely here, and this is going to cost him yet another Nexus.
And now this really hurts, because before I said he had up to 3 Nexus. Okay, he is fine. This time around, now he's down to 2 Nexus.
Yeah, Time Warp goes down to help out Terminator a little bit here. And the spread's good for him, but the additional Archons reinforcing, and the superior Archon, or excuse me, Immortal account as well from Stats is just proving too much for Terminator, and now down to 75 to 145 supply, 150. It's just looking very, very grim for the teammate player.
Getting a early third Nexus by Stats actually nullified the 3rd Nexus from Terminator, and GG. And also with the little lead that he had, you know, he got a little lead with the 3rd Nexus of his own, but it was nullified greatly with the 12 o'clock base going up. And Terminator, during that little period of time, he didn't utilize it well. He could have tried to go for a timing attack and just make sure he doesn't force a fight at his natural or the 3rd base.
Yeah, unfortunately, Terminator, he had a ballsy move. He was behind. He kind of got back into the game with it, but that engagement that he had earlier on gave the momentum completely to Stats at that point, and Stats used that to his advantage. He took out the 3rd base. He picked off a lot of units. Some great Time Warps went down as well.
In fact, I think saving the 4th base was the wrong decision.
Yeah, he should have just given that up. All right, so the score is currently 1-0. KT Rolster taking the first game. The second set, it's going to be Action versus Argo on Naro Station as EVP, so don't go anywhere. We'll be back after this commercial break.